Well, I tell you what, guys, there's nothing quite like being back, and I'm very, very happy to get this Football Manager save back and underway again. This is exactly the way that things ought to be. And we're going to be at home today against Durach, and I'll actually give you, once again, two matches in one day. So we'll be home against Durach and then against Oostmemmingen on the road. These are two teams that we beat last time that we faced them. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more success today. Durach, by the way, I was just looking it up, is a municipality of about 7,000 people. So we're definitely out in the hinterlands, I guess you could call it. And so let's go ahead and get this match underway. But before we do this, I do want to take a quick look here and see who exactly it is that we have starting. So I'm looking here on the side at the squad planner that I have. We don't need to use the squad planner that they give us in the newer Football Manager games. It was Hanno Finger who didn't really have a good game last time. There were a couple of people who noticed that. So I'll tell you kind of what my issue is, right? Actually, the problem is that we only really have three people who can play in midfield. And you can see the issue down here, right? The issue is this guy. Vedat Akitsi is a guy who came in when this started. Akitsi, I'm not sure if that's correct. If you speak Turkish, let me know. This guy's supposed to be really good. He has played 0 matches for us, and the reason why is because he's 16 years old. He's not of age yet. We have to wait until next season to actually be able to play with him, right? This was the problem when I started this save. The best players that we have are all players that we cannot play with because they're not old enough. So, like, the big question that we have is, like, do we sort of, like, keep this going with these guys, or do we go out and look for somebody who we could get, like, for free? So the cool thing about this, by the way, is you can go through the scouting system here. I guess I want to say is a lot easier, right? So you can set this up to be like contract type or whatever. It's not contract type that we want. What we want to do is look for players who are unattached. So I can't remember exactly what it says. I have to go back in and look for it again. But if you can find players who are unattached right from the start, you can just go ahead and find your free agents, and you can just go ahead and sign them basically right away. So we'll look at that a little bit later, but probably not before this match. Maybe before the next one if we can. We have absolutely no money, but at the same time, we have nobody who can play these positions. That's where the real problem is, right? The other person, I mean, Pitts doesn't even play there. He plays over on the left side. Why do we have this guy? Why is it that I got this guy again? I can't remember why I got Pitts. Did I actually go get him? No, maybe he started off with us and I just didn't realize it. Anyway, there you have it. The other thing that's happened since the last match is we had our youth intake, which means that we have a whole bunch of guys signed. But look at their ages, 15 and 14. I am suspecting that this is caused by the editor data file that I'm using and not caused by anything else that's going on. Anyway, but we'll sign them all and we'll see sort of how they progress. It was a much different experience in FM17 than it is in the newer FM games. So we'll look at that probably a little bit later and figure out exactly what's going on. And the other thing that I realized I haven't done is I need to turn the cursor on. There we go. And now, finally, we're going to go ahead and go into the match. There we go. This is what we want to do. And so we go back to the beauty of 2D mode, and we are going to try to get the ball off of Durach as soon as we possibly can. And we are able to Bauer with it, and it's going to go over to Weiler. No, I'm sorry, there was a guy there, Galatska. I couldn't even see him. I'm not sure why I wasn't able to see him, but at the very last moment I saw the little white dot moving. That was Finger, I believe, who was taking that shot. I wanted to look at his name, and then next thing I know, we have a 3D match highlight. It was Finger. And that was just off the side post there. So not a real bad shot by him when all is said and done. Bauer has a good shot that forces a save. That's the first one of those we've seen all season. Up until this point, everything that Bauer was kicking up there was going basically nowhere. Finger overlooking for Kutsu and can't find him. And so we end up on our back heels again. Bernardini takes a shot and then misses everything. So much for that. So far so good, I suppose. You would expect that we would be scoring goals here since we're at home against a team that is like I mean, I guess they're ahead of us in the table, but this is a team we really should be able to beat given what our talent level is. Flaig ends up winning this. Saber to Weiler. Weiler's very, very good to Flaig. Over to Apostolo. And now it's Kutsu with it. Over to Weiler. Man, oh man, those two, when those two get together, the goals come down. So Weiler now has 19 goals this season. 2 for Bobingen. And there's just simply no stopping this. I'm not sure what kind of weather it is that we have here. It looks like it's, I don't know if it's snowing or if it's raining. Some crazy stuff is coming down from the sky. So I hope these players have their gas masks on because I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the southern German weather here. Anyway, no worries. We're up 1-0. That's the important part. Lehmann looking for Fly. Can't find him. And it's Uzturk, I think it was. Sorry, Uzkul, sorry, who ends up knocking that out. See, this is what happens when I take a little bit of a break. I forget everybody's names. Steinhardt, and he misses that. How did he miss that one? Let's see a 3D highlight here. I thought there was going to be one. I mean, it's just his header that goes totally wide, and I mean, that's a ridiculous, ridiculous miss. So we were very, very fortunate that they didn't score an equalizer there. Lehmann over to Fingo, back to Lehmann. Fingo with it again, playing with it a little bit, over to Michael, to Brauer. And ends up with Kutsu, as always. Flaig. He had Weiler, didn't see him. I don't think he had control of the ball. Apostolo ends up losing it, and so it doesn't quite work as well as we would like. And they have a counter-attack ready. We only have one person. Oh, there's the other one. Bernardini ended up having to take a second touch. That was the problem with that, and when he got the shot away, we were able to save it. But this is looking a little bit worrisome. Finga ends up heading it out of there, over to Brauer. Brauer finds Weiler. We now have numbers. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 players coming. We outnumber them, and unfortunately Weiler does not think pass and instead tries to bring it into the box himself. But he could have just sort of kicked that up near the center of the penalty area, and we would have had at least numbers and pretty good chance of scoring a goal. So not exactly the best decision in the world. Bauer now with it, looking for Saber, and he's fouled, and that is a penalty. And there's an argument with the ref, but they're going to rule that that was a penalty. Absolutely. Let's take a look here. See, this game knows what to do when there's a penalty. That is a ridiculous call. That is an awful call, but Saber ends up winning it for us. Is this going to be, who is this taking this now? It's Kutsu who's going to take it, and he's going to score. He's always going to score that. 2-0 for Bobingen. So Kutsu now 14 goals this season. And he kicks him in for fun. And so we have a 2-0 lead going in right before the half, which is exactly what we wanted to see. And there it is. That's the halftime whistle. Taking a quick look at this. Yeah, it looks like everybody's playing me relatively good per hour, maybe not having the best game in the world. I'm not too worried about that. We're going to leave him in. He's one of our star players. Right now, arguably the best player on the squad that can play. I think some of the younger players might technically be better. Apostolo over to Flaig to Brauer. Brauer now finds Kutsu. No, he doesn't. Uzkul ends up saving that in the back over to Michael. And that's the end of that. Lehmann with the throw over to Finger, over to Flaig. And then Weiler ends up taking the shot, but it's easily saved. Just so much for that. And we have to go back and play some defense again. And that is the end of that attacking movement. Lehmann gets himself booked. There's nothing new there. So I think he's one of the culprits who had red cards early in the season, if you remember those matches. It feels like it was an eternity ago. We've definitely turned it around from there. Michael wins this over to Kutsu. Kutsu has numbers, but he, instead of passing, allows it to be taken away. And now we've got to play defense, but Finger wins it over to Brauer. Brauer, here we go. Look at all of the numbers we have in attack. Finger now just sort of taps it over to Weiler, who's basically all alone. But that's not much of a shot. That was a really, really poor shot. So, I mean, I think that they're kind of fortunate that we weren't able to kick in a third right there. But, I mean, in the attack, we're just looking absolutely vicious. I kind of like the looks of that, right? This tells me that we can probably climb up the table here if we really want to. Flaig wins this over to Kutsu. Kutsu, does he see Weiler? Well, no, he can't see him now. He wins it back, though, wins it twice, over to Flyig to Brouwer, and Kutsu now trying to get in good position, moving forward. Weiler with it now, and he just takes a shot from the middle of nowhere. That was a pretty poor decision. Finger wins in the back. Brouwer to Weiler, back to Kutsu. Goes back to Finger, over to Mikhail. We're jockeying for position. It's Weiler with it, and he takes a shot, and that is forced a good save by Zaya. It's got to be Zaya. It's got to be how you say that. So we take the corner here. It is cool now with it, and looking for a penalty, doesn't quite get it. Apostolo has it, over to Finger. Finger to Saber. You notice we've had possession like the whole time here. Mikhail back to Finger, over to Flyig, to Kutsu, and he's offside. That time, it was, I suppose, a little bit close, but that time I'm pretty sure he was actually offside that time. And what are we looking at here in this replay? This is, I think this is a shot that we saw. Yeah, Weiler needs to get a little bit more on that shot than that. It looked a lot better in 2D mode than it did in 3D mode, that's for sure. It was like just about everybody having a good game today. This is the sort of game where I'm not sure I actually want to take anybody out. Everybody looks like they're having fun. Brouwer with the free kick, and that's over everybody's head. I swear, he sees like some cute girl or something, you know, in like the 10th row and decides to kick it to her. And what was that? This is absolutely ridiculous. By who is this over here? Well, I don't know. Lehmann is who it was, and we may need to just take him out. That was very, very poorly done by him, and led them to an attack. Now we have a counterattack in our own. Brouwer now with it. Over to Kutsu. Brouwer says, I don't want to take the shot. Kutsu doesn't want to take the shot either, so we're going to take Lehmann out. After that one, I think we've seen enough of Lehmann for one game. He wasn't having a bad game. He's actually having a pretty good game, but that has me very, very concerned. We've got to be able to win our headers in midfield. Uzkul ends up being beaten, but Apostolo is back there to win it, back to Filippo, and we'll start it over again. Vergos now with it. We're, about 65 minutes into the match. So there is still time left. We can add in, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 more. Vergos, who just came on, over to Mikhail. Brouwer to Weiler. Vergos is out of position. I'm not sure if he realizes that. Mikhail to Brouwer. Brouwer back to Mikhail. Need a forward pass here. Brouwer back to Finger. Over to Flyig. There we go. Now we found it. We figured out a way to crack the defense, and Kutsu has the shot, and it forces another good save. That was a little bit more like it. And we Brouwer here taking the corner. And he can't quite find Flyig, but it was a good corner. Finger now with it, and Husic does a very, very good job to kick that one out, straight out for a throw-in right around midfield. So that was a very good defensive play for Dorach. And yeah, I mean, we're just attacking and attacking and attacking the goal. You've got to believe that something is going to happen here. Vergos now with the throw over to Mikhail. Back to Vergos. Mikhail over to Finger. Finger down to Brouwer. To Weiler, who's somehow onside. I'm not sure about that. I'm pretty sure that he came in from an offside position before that was passed to him. There's a little bit of a sleight of hand, I believe. Finger now with the corner over finds Brouwer. And his shot is saved, and then Flyig tries to shoot from a very odd angle, and he's not going to be able to make that shot. We'll take another look at this. Interesting angle, by the way, for the corner. And yeah, that was a good deflection there by the defensive player. That's what happened. It sort of hit him up around the back of the shoulder or the back, something like that. So and we have about 10 minutes left in this match. This one seems to be fairly comfortably in hand, I would say. So let's see what we can do here. Now we have 5 minutes left. It was Weiler who was offside. Thank you for showing me that wonderful replay that was very descriptive. That's exactly what I wanted to see. That told me a whole lot about what's happening. And Steinhardt is called for the foul there. The nice thing about having this 2D perspective is that you can't tell like what the foul actually looks like, so you have to imagine to yourself what happened. In my opinion, at least, it's much more vivid. So we'll go ahead, continue to our post-match analysis. We're still in 7th place. If we win our next match, we'll still be in 7th place, but we'll be climbing up the table. We have some separation. We're going to be squarely, hopefully, in the first half of the table. We're hoping for something like around maybe 5th or 4th. If we can, like I said before, if we can jump up into like this region, I think that we have a chance of making something really interesting happening. So there you have it, and I'll be back with you in a minute or so. All right, guys, just wanted to remind you again, if you enjoy the videos that I make, if you like this content, and if you want to support it, consider becoming a YouTube channel member, or also consider supporting me on Patreon. Patreon, you can get a few extra perks, such as downloading a whole bunch of old matches, old games from a bunch of sports. I'm at like 8.5 terabytes of stuff, and I have a whole bunch more to upload. So more of that is coming in the future. I'm not sure how all of this happened. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump straight back here into the game after that little commercial interlude. As you can tell, I'm not exactly the best person in the world of marketing, but it doesn't really matter because what we really care about is playing this game. So we're going to be playing on the road here against Oostmemmingen. Memmingen is actually a relatively large town with about 47,000 people or so in it. I did a quick search, by the way, for additional midfielders after thinking and considering it. The problem that we have is that we would have to register them, and the registration window is closed. So we're going to sort of like move with this as best as we possibly can. And Saber has managed to get himself banned for this match, which is not what we want to do. It's going to be Vergos who ends up going in. And we'll have Salihovic there on the bench. That's probably what we're going to do. And we'll just go ahead and sort of jump on in. I know I always say don't look at the star ratings, and then I do everything based on the star ratings. So welcome to the world of Football Manager, and I think all of us are like this. Avastolo is in the back winning that, and then he loses it right away to Geyser. That was really bad. Uzkul is able to knock it back, but it stays in, and then it's Avastolo who makes up for his mistake, pushes it forward. Weiler has it over to Brouwer. Excellent idea, by the way, by Weiler to go backwards with it. Finger wins this now to Michael, and we've turned this into an attacking movement, which is amazing. Lehmann over to Finger, Brouwer, and look at all the men that we have forward. Laig over to Kutsu, and we had two men in the same place at the same time. Somebody else was there with Kutsu, and I think it was Weiler probably who was there, and it was a really poor example of communication. And so that's the end of that. Boy, that was very, very fortunate for us, though, because it looked like they were going to sort of sneak one in. We need to get control of this match. I was going to say we need to get possession of the match. Brouwer here with this forward for Kutsu, who's wide open and all alone. I guess he doesn't get paid to play defense. And he just barely misses it. That would have been an amazing goal if he had made that. But unfortunately, it just doesn't happen. We'll take another look at this here. Brouwer, and then he sees him, and he says, here you go. Kutsu wins this, and not quite close enough for that first touch shot, right? So he has to touch it forward a little bit first. Uzkul wins this over to Kutsu. Kutsu says there's a wide open goal there somewhere, I know it. Michael now, and he can't get a shot away. Apostolo, who already has a yellow card, has it knocked down to Finger. Now to Michael. Michael back to Finger. So we have it here in midfield. We're looking pretty good. Weiler now. And his shot just misses. I'm not sure why Smith there has a yellow halo around him. Is he an angel or something like that? I'm not sure exactly what's going on with him, but maybe there's something wrong with him. Maybe he's fatigued or something like that. I don't know. It's not really my concern right now. The only thing I really care about is are we going to score a goal? Vergos over to Finger to Brouwer. Forward for Kutsu must be offside. There's no flag up. Weiler with it now. Brouwer down to Lehmann. Forward for Weiler, and Weiler went the wrong way. This is, again, one of those reasons why I really like playing this in 2D mode, because you can see this stuff so clearly, right? So we had this great idea, and, you know, he ends up just going the wrong way. Anyway, that was a short off, or a close offside. That's what they were trying to show us there, and it didn't really show us much. And this time, this was that was a cross that ended up hitting the crossbar. But they don't show us the replay after all. Brouwer now with it over to Michael. And there's a shot, but Maas is able to save it. And Kutsu is called as offside there this time. So we can take a look at this one. This is another close offside. It finally decides it wants to show us some of these. And, I mean, it's not even close, man. I mean, Kutsu's like about as far offside as you can get. He's offside by about like 3 yards. I mean, like, if we were playing a different sport, they would still call him offside. That's how bad this is. Vergos. And he's sort of like walking backwards, sends it all the way back to Foucault. Foucault, who was going to knock it back over here to Lehmann. And Yeah, that wasn't it wasn't very good. We need to push this forward. Brower now with it. Weiler. Up to Flaik. Here we go. And he goes over to Apostolo. Trying to get the defense to open up some space, and we get a little bit. Flaik with the shot, but it's saved right away. Weiler with it again. It doesn't quite work. If we had midfielders who can actually play midfield, it would make a huge difference. That's where I think a lot of the problems actually lie with this team. I think that we have these strikers who actually can play pretty well. My assistant managers keep telling me that these guys are not good enough to play for this team, but they're scoring all the goals. Although today Weiler hasn't been shooting very well, but overall he's been playing incredibly well. A problem I think is in midfield, although our midfielders today look like they're doing a lot better. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows what's going on? Finger with it. It's been kind of a yellow card marathon here. He goes back to Finger, and he goes all the way back to Foucault again. You got to be really careful with those passes, man. We don't want to score an own goal. That would be extraordinarily embarrassing, especially on YouTube. Kutsu wins this and ends up taking a shot. Speaking of embarrassing, he should have nailed that one easily, and instead he was intimidated by something. And so it was a pretty poor job. We'll take another look at it here. And Kutsu did a very good job to win that. He was a little bit further out than I thought, I believe, and that's probably the reason why that didn't work quite as well as we were hoping. Lehmann throws over to Mikhail. Mikhail to Kutsu. Here we go. Good things are going to happen here. And it was a great cross, and Weiler just a little bit too slow to get there. That was an amazing cross, though. That was a very, very well-timed cross that really needed a goal on the other end of it. Kutsu is such an incredible player, and it's amazing that nobody else can see it. Nobody else can see what I can see in him. Brower now over to Apostolo. Back to Brower to Flaik. Weiler to Kutsu. Kutsu. And he kind of stopped with it for a little bit and then just gave it sort of a casual kind of tap with the foot. Not the sort of shot we want to see. Brower, and this is won by Droom, and we have way too many men forward. I'm a little bit concerned here about us giving up a quick goal on the counter-attack. It's Hasenkamp with it. Unfortunately, he does that football manager thing where you shoot it forward into the side netting as if there were a hole there, right? And like it would count as a goal if your ball went through it and stuff like that. It's just football manager things. That's all that it is. Feels like we should start some sort of Facebook group about that or something like that, right? Not even out of context football manager, just football manager things. And so nobody scores. We go straight for the second half. Let's see if we can do a little bit better here. Uzkul with it. Forward for Weiler. Weiler, is he going to get there? He is, just barely in time. It's deflected, but Lehmann is there to Flaik. Over to Finger. He's looking to pass, but couldn't find anything he liked. Lehmann back to Mikhail to Weiler to Brower. Brower takes it out again, and I'm not sure what that was supposed to be. I have no idea what his thought process was there, but we've given up possession for absolutely nothing. I have no idea what that was. That was pretty bad. Brower here with it as the heat turns back on here in my house. Lehmann over to Flaik. Down to Kutsu, and there's the shot. That's a very good shot and a very good save by Moss. So, remains scoreless. Boy, we really could use a goal here. We could use a win. A win in this match would make me very, very happy. It was cool, and we just can't get that one centered again. You remember the beginning of the season where we weren't winning anything and I was thinking I was going to get fired, right? That feels like a long, long time ago now. Nobody decides to go over and get this one, and Finger finally knocks it out in for touch. So, I don't know what's going on with this team, but we seem to have forgotten the basics of how to play the sport. Brower, and he knocks this one over everybody's head. Kutsu has a 6.3 rating. We're going to take a look in probably about 10-15 minutes, and then we're going to start taking some players off. Foucault is able to cradle this one. This is probably a good time to make our changes. Kutsu is having a really, really poor game, so we'll let Schreiber go over and show us what he's capable of doing. And we don't have anybody else who's even remotely capable of being a striker. We might put Rausch in. Let's give that a try. Let's just see what happens. Let's see what happens, eh? So Foucault with it over to Lehmann. And there our changes are made, so we're going to see what happens. Kutsu has disappointed me here. It's not often that he does that. Usually he plays very well, but in this match he was playing really, really poorly. And Weiler as well. Neither one of them looked like they knew where they were. and we're seeing a whole bunch of nothing. So I don't think that the substitution really worked all that well. Lamon goes back to get this one, and he goes about as slowly as possible. I'm not sure if he realizes that we actually want to win this match. This is a forward pass for Schreiber, who just came on, and he's fouled right outside the penalty area. It's Jim Locklear. That's definitely an English name, and he's given a straight red. He's given a straight red for that foul with a clear goal-scoring opportunity. And we'll take another look at this one. Was that really a clear goal-scoring opportunity? Do you think that that warranted a red card? So Schreiber was in ahead of the defense, and he's taken down, look at that, a 2-footed tackle. He's taken out with 2 feet from behind, and that's one of those that can really, really harm you. And he's lucky that that ball wasn't like maybe, you know, a foot forward, or that would have been a penalty. And instead it's just Brouwer knocking it over everybody's head. Once again, it's Brouwer seeing the attractive young lady in the 10th row, and he decides that he'd rather give the ball to her than kick in a goal. It's okay, you know, we were all young once. So we have about 10 seconds left. We're not going to win this match. And it's really a shame because we should have won. And instead, we end up with a 0-0 draw, no score at all. And it's unfortunately, it's a boring draw for us. We should have won that match, absolutely. I agree, we should have won that match. There's no excuse for not winning that, and I think everybody feels that way. Memmingen are in last place, by the way. The worst team in the league, and we can't even beat them. I guess it was on the road. It still is not the end of things, though, right? We have, I think, about 7 matches left, right? Yeah, 7 matches left. 33 points, right? So we're probably not going to finish miraculously in first place, but we could climb a little bit. That's what I keep saying. We can climb a little bit. We can just get a little bit here and a little bit there. The fact that we didn't lose is pretty good, even though it was a totally ridiculous match. I mean, look at this. We had almost 70% of the possession. They didn't shoot anything. They didn't have any shots, and yet we couldn't make it work. So anyway, there you have it. I hope that you enjoyed that. I'll have a little bit more of this for you likely tomorrow, so we'll have some fun then. I'll talk with you then. Why don't you have a great day. Bye-bye.